That actually made me a little bit queasy when you're talking about that, thinking back to it. Vomit is a very visceral thing. We all have experience with vomit. You know the texture, you know the temperature, you know the smell. So as you're telling that,
Oh,
I'm
know the
just like thinking of
temperature.
all
That's an
that. The
awful thing to think about. Like,
temperature,
yeah,
I
I do know the
know.
temperature.
So
You
you're a
do.
writer and director, but you've also worked in visual effects. So I'm curious, how did that inform the way you approached the body horror effects in this movie?
Well, I think I learned how to kind of do visual effects when I was 17. I kind of was like learning online how to do stuff. And I've always thought of it as an extension of my writing skill because it just meant that like I was never afraid to write in a sort of crazy heightened direction because I knew how to do the visual effects myself. So it was kind of like this cheap resource for me. And so then when it came to writing this film, I think that really informed like just never being afraid of going like super crazy with it because I just kind of have that attitude. But that said, we had mostly practical effects for this film. We had some amazing visual effects sequences that like I was fanboying out, like getting to work with like Framestore to like do these crazy body horror sequences, but also fanboying out about like Larry Van Donovan, who was our like prosthetics designer, making amazing puppets and prosthetics and creatures. Was a dream come true.
So are you, I feel like not a lot of writers are able to do this, but are you kind of able to map it out when you're writing it and know like, okay, we can do this practically, or this part needs to be visual, or it's going to be blended, but you kind of know where the blend is going to happen? Like you kind of
Yeah,
map it
I
out
think
that
I've
way as
got
you're
pretty
writing?
good instincts as to how to do it. But then, whilst we were, in collaborating with our amazing VFX supervisor or our kind of prosthetic people, and think, we wanted to do everything as practical as possible, but some of the stuff just it works better as visual effects, like kind of the bigger transformation moments in this film. But there were other sort of moments where it was fully practical, and I got to become a practical effect myself. I got to go and like sit in the chair and get covered in goo and like get like my head molded for this kind of crazy creature at the end of the film, and that was such a dream come true.
Are you actually in the film, or is it like a prosthetic based on
No,
you?
there are photos of me in the film that like there's like a missing poster, and like I'm the guy in the missing poster being like hi, just like an absolute doofus, and then we kind of discover my bloated and deformed head kind of at the end of the film, which is a great way to cameo as a director who cannot act because I didn't have to do any acting and I can still be like I'm in a movie.
That's amazing. So I just found you right now. Do I get some kind of a reward, or is it just the glory of finding you?
Yes, I'm no longer missing. Thank you so much. Please
You're
call the
welcome.
helpline.
I'm here to serve. This is a very, I'll say, a vocal audience movie. I was
Mm.
sitting in the theater, and you can just kind of feel the audience first anticipating and then dreading what's about to happen. And then when the moment does happen, you hear like gasps and kind of just all these different emotions and reactions scattered about. So how does that make you feel when you can feel the audience basically squirming in their seats at your maniacal hands?
I mean, it's incredible. It's like what you fantasize about when you're writing the movie, when you're shooting the movie, when you're editing the movie. This was a film like so made for an audience, like so made with an audience in mind that the first time I watched it with an audience was at Sundance, was a world premiere, so that was like extremely stressful. But there's a kind of a moment, sort of like 5 minutes in, where there's like a little laugh line, and people laughed, and I thought, oh, that's pretty good. And then 5 minutes later, there's like a big scare, and people went, oh, and I thought, oh, that's pretty good too. And like kind of by that moment, I was like, oh, cool, like this is working. Like the audience is like leaning in, and yeah, there is people talk about jump scares as though they're like crass, and sometimes there are, but sometimes they are, but there is a jump scare. Probably about the halfway point of the film that I'm so proud of, and every time I've seen it with a theater, people just like fall out of their seats. It's great.
That's the problem with like blanket terming something like jump scares bad. No, it doesn't mean all jump scares are bad. Sometimes jump scares are fantastic,
Oh yeah,
right?
like you don't want a movie that's kind of only got jump scares and they can sometimes be irritating. Not to speak of another film poorly, but the film 13 Ghosts I find quite irritating because they just like keep kind of like flash framing jump scares the entire time. But with this, yeah, I've been a horror fanatic my whole life, and so I've got like in the back of my brain, like if I ever get to make a horror movie, like I do this jump scare and I do this jump scare. So to be able to kind of like put maybe four of them into this movie was just like such a treat.
Do you still have some in your back pocket that you didn't get to use in this, like bucket list jump scares?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a really good kill for a slasher movie that I don't think I'll ever make. So, like, a friend of mine's about to direct a slasher movie. I'm like, do this kill. It's gonna be awesome. It'd be great. Fangoria might even freaking write about it.
Do I get to know what the kill is so I can keep an eye out for it?
Um, what I have this shot in mind of somebody getting their arm cut off in a single slice that would sever their arm in 3 ways. And that's all I'll say. But I think it's really fun.
In three, I'm trying to work out the physics of this in my head right now. Okay, that sounds disgusting. We all have that one thing that really gets us. What type of gore or effects really makes your skin crawl? Is it like eyeball stuff, fingernails, or are you just immune to all of it?
I'm fairly immune to some of that stuff. I think what I am quite queasy when it comes to like food and like vomiting and that sort of thing. And I think the hardest, like the worst thing I've ever seen in a movie, and like the worst thing, compliment, is probably in Audition, Takashi Miike's Audition, where there's a scene where, I mean, it's even disgusting to talk about. There's a woman who vomits in a bowl and then makes a man slurp the vomit up out of the bowl. And like, I can't watch that. Like, that's one of my favorite movies, but it like, that freaks me out. Like, I could watch someone get stabbed in the eye and just be like, yeah, fine. But just like slurping up vomit, no way.
That actually made me a little bit queasy when you're talking about that, thinking back to it. Just vomit is a very visceral thing. We all have experience with vomit. You know the texture, you know the temperature, you know the smell. So as you're telling that, I'm just like thinking of all that.
That's an awful thing to think about. Like, yeah, I do know the temperature.
You do. You know damn well what the temperature is. It's disgusting.
What's funny thinking about like vomit and queasiness and just like, I think that maybe that like lends itself to just this body horror in general. Is that like I think like my relationship to my own body, like I'm a huge hypochondriac, like I have all these like neuroses about like eating and anxiety, and maybe that's why I was sort of into the kind of body horror stuff of just being like, yeah, I don't like my body. It's gross. There's vomit in there. What if somebody vomits in a bowl and makes me lick it up? I don't want to do that. Stop making me do that.
Oh no. What are your best like all-time body horror moments in cinematic history?
I mean, like The Thing's maybe my favorite film of all time. I mean, the most iconic body horror moment in that is probably the ka-jink into the ribs that then go, ah! It's just so crazy. But the scene with the kind of the blood test scene, I love that whole sequence. I kind of took the shot design of the jump scare from that scene for one of the jump scares in this, whereby a character is in focus and they're talking off screen, but they're holding something in their hand that's going to kind of scream at you, like, and kind of make you jump. And so I kind of recreated that with a moment with a rat in this film of like, oh, it's so much scarier if you're looking at the scary thing, but the character is like looking off screen. I think it just kind of like catches you more off guard. But I mean, any moment from Alien or Aliens, any moment from the entirety of David Cronenberg's career. Actually, I was just mentioning this to somebody else that growing up, one of my favorite movies was Star Trek First Contact. I love that movie. I absolutely love it. And that's a movie full of body horror. It like begins with Picard getting a needle in his eye, and then like a little spider crawls out of his face, and then like they're cutting human skin off someone and sticking it onto like Data's arm and like being like weirdly sexual about it. And it's like I watched it so much as a kid, and I think there's something about that movie that kind of infected my tastes.
So thank you, Star Trek.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan Frakes, for your masterful film. I love that film.
Amazing. I know that's all the time we have. I wish we had more. This is awesome. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I wish we had more too. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful to meet you, Michael.
Likewise. See ya.